On this episode of Handmade Holidays, we're going to make these cute tote bags. You can take them to the beach, to the gym, to the grocery store, any place where you have a lot of stuff that you need to haul. We're going to line them, and I'm going to show you the quickest, fastest, easiest way to line this bag. And these are great for gifts for anybody that you might have on your holiday list. So let's get into it. It's Elizabeth from ElizabethMadeThis.com, bringing you day 8 of Handmade Holidays with Elizabeth Made This, where I'm going to give you lots of little ideas for quick and easy projects that you can make for anybody that you may have to make projects for during this holiday season. Okay, today we're going to make some grocery bags, or they could be beach bags for that matter. I'm starting out with the Charlie bag, which is a pattern from Bertastyle.com. And many years ago, this used to be a free pattern that was available on Bertastyle, but now I think it's 99 cents, which isn't bad. Anyway, it's a good basic pattern. The one thing I don't like about this pattern is how they construct the handles. So they have you take the one piece of your bag and then sew the handles together this way. And I've noticed that as I've used them, that they're a lot harder to bag the groceries with. So I prefer to take both sides of the bag pattern and sew across the handle like that to make my handles. And that's what we're going to do for this particular thing. And I'm going to show you how to line this in a really quick and easy sort of way. So go ahead and sew across like that. And you can see I've already done that with my lining. And then I'll get back to the next step in just a second. Okay, so now I am going to bring the right sides of the lining to the right sides of the outside fabric. And I'm just gonna flip them and flip it. Okay, and I'm just gonna pin right at the handle seams on that side and on that side. I cannot sew this, and I can't sew all of that in one go and all of that in one go and just flip it, because then I'm gonna end up with some kind of like impossible Mobius strip that you can't turn. So we're gonna do this a different way. So the first thing that we're gonna do is sew all the way around the inside part of the handles. So we'll just go ahead and do that. And the pattern calls for 5/8 of an inch. I'm actually gonna sew at 3/8 of an inch. If I do it at 5/8, it means I'm gonna have to trim it all, and it's just gonna take it's just as easy to sew it with a smaller seam allowance. You're going to be more accurate, and then you won't have to trim and notch out stuff and all of that jazz. If I was doing this on a garment pattern, I would just take down the seam allowance before I cut out the pattern. That way I would just save myself some time of trimming it out later. Okay, so now that I have sewn the inside part of the handles together, I went ahead and I pressed all that whole seam towards the lining, and that will just help it later when we go to turn everything. Okay, so I'm gonna flip this over to the right side of everything, and now I need to sew the other side of the handles to the lining. Okay, but again, if I bring these guys together, it's gonna make an impossible to turn kind of situation. So what I want to do is take the other side of this and stick it inside of here while I sew together this. So if you're familiar with making men's shirts, then you will have seen this kind of, it's the same kind of technique here. So I'm just gonna fold the opposite side of the neckline all over in here, and I don't have to be super. I don't have to fold this up really tightly like you would a shirt yoke, because it's pretty big. But I should find the other side of that. Okay, so there's the corner of my bag handle, and then I'm gonna find that same seam, and then that's gonna get a pin, and I'll go ahead and put a pin on the other side so that I know where I'm sewing to. Okay, so the rest of the bag is going to be inside of this, and you'll see how we turn this in just a minute. It's kind of magical. Okay, so now I'm going to sew from pin to pin, just bringing these edges together all the way around. And again, I'm going to use a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance instead of the 5/8 of an inch recommended in the pattern. And that just means I won't have to trim it at all. So it'll be simple, and it'll also make my handles a little bit wider, which will be easier when we go to just actually use the bag. Okay, so believe it or not, the whole bag is stuck inside of this big old tube. So I've sewed all the way around that outside part of the handle, and now I've got to turn it inside out. So I'm just gonna stuff my hand in here and just grab any part of the bag and just start pulling. You can see that came out really easily, and I'm just gonna keep pulling. And it's all just kind of magically pull through where the handle is, and you'll see how nice and clean I get on the other side. And that's it. Okay, so now this whole side of the bag has been lined, and now so I have to do the same thing but on the opposite side. So we have to roll this finished side inside this seam, because I have to sew this edge to that edge. So I'm gonna fold the bag and just kind of roll it. Now everything is gonna sit inside of where the seam is gonna be. So this gets a pin. So we get a pin right there at the intersection of the handle seams. And then right there, it's a little bit easier to see it on the second side. So right there at the end of that. And then bring the rest of this over here. And I'm gonna pin right there. And now I'm gonna sew all the way around here to the end where my other pin is, and then that will finish off the second handle. So now you can see that my whole bag again is right inside this seam that I've just finished sewing. So right all inside there, that's where I just sewed. And now I'm gonna pull on the other side and just get everything all turned out to the right side, and you'll see that now we'll have a bag that's totally lined around the handle sides, which is the hardest part of lining this kind of style of bag. But now, yeah, all of that is now, nice and lined. And now what I have to do is bring the bag parts together, and I've got to sew my side seams. So I'm going to bring the lining together and the sides of the bag together. So I'm going to sew the lining side together, and then I'm going to sew the side of the bag together also. And when I get to that juncture where the side seams are going to match, I'm going to make sure that my seam is facing towards the lining. So in that case, I'm actually going to start on the bag side. Just stitch along the side here. And that will make sure that the lining is rolling towards the lining and not towards the outside of the bag. Okay, I'm just gonna drop my needle at the corner of the bag. Okay, now I'm on the lining side, and I'm gonna stop somewhere on the bottom side of this, because now we're gonna sew the bottom of the lining. I need to leave a gap here that's big enough for my hand so that I can turn the bag right side out. And that doesn't have to be any place in particular, just somewhere along the bottom side of the bag. And I just kind of pull my needle thread up and just start stitching in another place. Drop my needle at the corner. Okay, now I'm going to sew the side of the other side seam. And we're going to be able to turn this because, again, I left that hole there where, see, there's no stitching there. And if I want to, I can go ahead and trim out those threads so they don't get in the way later. Okay, again, when I get to the intersection of the side seams of the bag and the lining, I'm gonna make sure that the seam is the seam is facing towards the lining. Okay, see the seam is facing towards the lining, and I make sure that it's matched up too really well. But mostly it's more important that it's facing the lining. Drop my needle, and then I can sew all the way across the bottom of the outside of the bag. So now I'm going to turn the whole thing through that hole that we left to the lining. And it will just finish everything off. The only thing I have to do to finish this is to give everything a good press, and I've got to close up my hole. So I can either sew this up by hand, or I'm just going to use my machine to sew the hole in our lining closed, just really close to the edge, because nobody's going to see the inside of your bag except for your vegetables or whatever it is that you're carrying. So by all means, use a hand stitch to close it up if you don't want to offend your vegetables. But other than that, just go ahead and use your machine because it's super fast and easy. So after a good press, now we've got the whole bag all finished and ready to go to the beach or to the grocery store or wherever. And again, I mean, make these for yourself, make them for anybody this holiday season. And if you want to, also, I ran a top stitch all the way around the inside handle and around the outside handles as well, and that's an additional detail you can add if you would like to or not. It's kind of up to you, but again, quick and easy bag, and one that's going to hold a lot of your stuff wherever you happen to be going. Be sure to catch more Handmade Holidays with Elizabeth Made This. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe below. Thanks for watching. Happy sewing!